Pittsburgh went into day one with only Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson being the only QBs on the roster. And when it was their turn to pick 21st overall, Shedeur Sanders was still on the board. They brought him in on the top 30 visit. It went pretty well. Mike Tomlin said it went pretty well. Shedeur felt it went pretty well. And I thought there was no chance in hell Pittsburgh would pass on him if he was available. But they did. And they go with Oregon defensive tackle Derrick Harmon instead, who is a really good player. And his comp is Cam Hayward. He has position versatility. He can play defensive tackle. He can play defensive end. Here's my problem. The Steelers still have failed to address their biggest need to start this offseason, which is quarterback. And as good as a player as Derrick Harmon is and eventually will be, can he throw the football to George Pickens or DK Metcalf? The Steelers do not have a second-round pick either. So you're going to miss out on the opportunity to get Jalen Milroe or Shedeur Sanders unless you trade up, which means that the Steelers are banking on Aaron Rodgers signing for one more year, seeing if he can finally end their very long playoff drought, or you're going to go to the recycling bin trading for either Derek Carr or Kirk Cousins, which puts the Steelers in the same situation that they have been since the retirement of Big Ben. You keep playing musical chairs with the quarterback position. Mike Tomlin keeps thinking that the Steelers can make a Super Bowl run despite having below average quarterback play in the conference that's home to the majority of the NFL's best quarterbacks. The Steelers are flat out idiots for passing on Shedeur Sanders in the first round. Say what you want to about him being overrated, overhyped because of his last name, but he definitely is a talented enough quarterback to be a 10-year starter in this league. And the Steelers, once again, have no idea what the hell they're doing at quarterback. And unless Shedeur continues to fall, which I hope he does because I really want him to be a Steeler, because at this point, they have no true options. Aaron Rodgers has made no commitment to playing football this year. He still is on the fence to what he wants to do as far as his NFL career, and I think there's a 70% chance he ends up retiring. It seems like he either wants to play for the Vikings or that's just it. He's going to call it a career. You cannot keep making excuses for Mike Tomlin coming up short in the playoffs due to him not having a quarterback when he chooses to ignore addressing this position. Quarterback is the most impactful position in the NFL when it comes to winning games in this league. If you have a good quarterback, you have a shot to compete for a Super Bowl every single year, regardless if your roster has certain limitations at other positions. But Mike Tomlin and Amar Khan keep on getting these Band-Aids at the position, and then we wonder why the Steelers always get their ass kicked in the wild card round. You're not going to go far if once you get into the postseason, you have to go up against aliens like Lamar, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. At this point, Mike Tomlin has just wrote his bid as the Steelers head coach, and he is guaranteeing that he either is going to make sure the Steelers go one and done in the playoffs once again, or he's going to end up eventually getting fired. Mike Tomlin, for as long as he has been the Steelers head coach, he has say when it comes to certain personnel positions. Quarterback is too important for him not to have a say in this matter. And if you're banking on Kyle McCord, Will Howard, or Quinn Ewers becoming good starters, you're lying to yourself. At best, you get capable backup play for them. Mason Rudolph is not going to get the Steelers far. And what really will piss me off even more is if the Browns end up taking Shedeur Sanders, and once again, the Steelers allow an in-division rival to get their hands on a transcendent level quarterback. Shedeur's floor, at his worst, he's a top 20 quarterback. He's a low-end starter. He's like Teddy Bridgewater, where he's a journeyman guy who bounces around on several teams, but still carves up a somewhat solid career. But his ceiling is that he could be a top 5, top 7 quarterback in this league and be somewhat 85% of what Joe Burrow is. And that's good enough for the Steelers to make a deep Super Bowl run, since they already have a pretty good team. They draft pretty well. They do a really good job of developing the talent that they select as well in these drafts. But it just really confuses me how the Steelers just neglect to address what has been the biggest Achilles heel for this franchise these last couple years. Drafting a defensive tackle is not going to help you beat Josh Allen or Lamar in the first round if you don't have great quarterback play. Getting Shedeur would have not only given the Steelers more flexibility in terms of their salary cap, where you could have still gone out and traded for a pretty good defensive tackle or signed whoever was the best available defensive tackle in free agency. It would have allowed you to extend George Pickens with Shedeur being on that rookie deal. It would have given you more cap space to make sure that you can have one of the best receiving duos in the league for years to come with Pickens and Metcalf. It also will help you make things a lot easier when it comes to retaining TJ Watt, who is looking for a new contract extension as we speak right now. I just really don't understand this decision by Pittsburgh to pass on Shedeur Sanders for Derrick Harmon. A defensive tackle is not more important than having serviceable quarterback play, something that the Steelers haven't had since Big Ben last was on the field. And eventually you have to ask yourself, does Mike Tomlin just think that he's such a good enough coach that he can win with anybody? Because it sounds pretty ignorant to believe that, unless they plan on getting Tom Brady out of retirement, which I still feel should be on the table for Pittsburgh. I get he is the minority owner of the Raiders, but if the Steelers give him an opportunity to play, he has no problem giving up whatever shares he has that franchise and running it back with one more season. And I don't think that relying on Aaron Rodgers to sign a one-year deal to see if he can go out on top is a good option either. Aaron Rodgers is unpredictable. And I watched a little bit of his documentary on Netflix. He's a little bit of a loose cannon. You don't really know what to expect from him. And I still think that Aaron Rodgers is a capable quarterback. But what's going to happen once Aaron Rodgers hangs up the cleats after 2025? You're going to be right back in the same position around the same time next year that you've been for the past 4 years. You still don't have a long-term fucking answer at quarterback. This was an idiotic decision that the Steelers made, passing on Shedeur Sanders in favor of a defensive tackle, because now you still don't have the most important area of your team addressed going into this year. And even if you do sign Aaron Rodgers, you're going to be right back in the same situation come next year, looking for another quarterback. And what are you going to do to address that? Are you going to get another Band-Aid? I really don't get the Steelers' decision to pass on Shedeur. I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to wrap my head around it. I'm trying to figure out what their plans are, but this just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.